And hi, everybody. Welcome to Proline, direct from Las Vegas, America's longest-running sports handicapping show. I'm Dave Cokin, joined by Jim Feist. We're going to take a look at Week 4 of the NFL, including the Ravens-Steelers, one of the great rivalries in any sport. The Broncos-Raiders, not too bad. Division showdowns, big ones, along with Vegas sports betting tips to get you ready for a winning weekend. First, Jim, it's been a big week off the field with NFL news, and I know you wanted to touch on it.
I hate having to do this because what we do, Dave and I, professional sports handicappers and bettors, I've been doing this for more than half my life now, way more. And I guarantee you, whether they're kneeling, standing, whether there's protests, whether DirecTV is giving refunds or not on their NFL package, season ticket package, the crisis going on in college basketball, all that stuff. You know, there's all kinds of things that happen over a lifetime, and we have to weather them. But the important thing I want to say to you is that no matter what's going on off the field, they're still playing football, they're going to play basketball, and we do our work. And the reason we do our work is for you, but more importantly for us, because this is what we do. I bet every day. I'm up at 3:30 every day, working the lines, getting information, placing my wagers. So that information is going to remain available to you, whether half the people go to the stadiums or not, because we're going to do what we need to do for ourselves and for you and to give you a winning season. I want you to remember that. No matter what's going on out there, we're still here every week and every day on our website, jimfeist.com, to give you the winners you deserve.
And by the way, NFL Week 3 was, the action on the field was fabulous.
Oh, great.
What a week.
Awesome.
Still not sure, and believe me, it's not a sour grapes thing because I wasn't involved in the game, but I don't know how you overturned that Lions touchdown. I'm sorry. I did not see conclusive evidence that suggested he was in or not. So to me, the call's supposed to stand, and Detroit Lions fans, I do believe, have a legit beef about the way that ended. But that's the way it goes. Jim, 2-0 with NFL high roller releases for you in Week 1 of the NFL, 2-0 in Week 2, and 2-0 again on Sunday with the Saints plus the Falcons and Lions game going over the total. Good thing that didn't get screwed up with that last
right.
play. Also, 1-0 on college games of the year with Stanford just destroying UCLA.
Absolutely. And it's Parlay Weekend, another college football game of the year going on Saturday, and my first NFL game of the year release on Sunday. Both plays are $99 at jimfeist.com, and when you purchase online at checkout, punch in the code JIM50 and get a 50% discount off those plays. Also, if you want to get 7 days of service on the house, go to ProlineTV.com and hit the subscribe button, or get a free play every day right on your cell phone by texting GAME, G-A-M-E, to 64600.
A nice nickel high roller play on Saturday with Rutgers as a big dog. Had an early winner Sunday on the Jaguars. Hopefully people got up in time to get that in. That was kind of the appetizer because after that game, I nailed the underdog Chicago Bears. So 3-0 with the NFL high rollers in the season so far. Again, picking the right games to use as the high rollers. You can also get a free daily play from me by texting Cokin 64600. That's Cokin 64600. Check out our plays daily at jimfeist.com for articles, videos, podcasts, along with the fast facts. Those are free stats from Jim's personal database. They're very useful. And if you purchase any of my selections at jimfeist.com, use the promo code DAVE50 at checkout, and you get 50% off. Before we get to the games, let's look at this week's Proline poll question of the week, which is up every Monday on Twitter at Jim Feist Sports. The NFC East was supposed to be the NFC Beast. Well, it's not an awful division, but so it's not the NFC least, but it's certainly been wide open after 3 weeks. So we asked, who wins the division, the Eagles, Redskins, Cowboys, or the 0-3 Giants?
Well, 14% picked the Giants. A little question on that after they're 0-3. 23% said the Cowboys, 27% said the Redskins, and 36% said Philadelphia Eagles. I would agree with that, but I don't give much of a chance to the Giants because of that 0-3 start. It's very difficult to make the playoffs when you have a record like that to start the year.
They're just finding ways not to win football games, and they did it again on Sunday. I think I probably agree with the poll. The Cowboys, before the season started, looked like the team to beat, but this is actually kind of shocking in a sense. Their offensive line, which is supposed to be the strongest area on that team and the strongest offensive line in the league, has not played like the strongest offensive line in the league so far. And they're not going to have a great season unless they fix that area, because there are other aspects of the team where they're not really loaded.
Well,
so I think Dallas is a bit of a problem there.
They have a problem. Anybody that doesn't have a great offensive line is going to have a problem. What saves them quite a bit is Dak Prescott and the fact that he's a pretty good passer. He's not the greatest passer, but he has great legs and he can move around. If you're a statue back there, for example, like Palmer, he can't move around. He's had knee surgeries, he's bigger, he's heavier, he doesn't move that well, and their offensive line crashes and burns. He's going to get sacked all the time, get hurt. It's the same thing with Bradford up in Minnesota. If you don't protect those statues back there, they're going to get hurt, they're not going to play very well, and you're not going to go very far. So you need some mobility, especially if you don't have a strong offensive line.
Yeah, one thing to remember is if you're just looking at the results of last week, you'd say, well, the Redskins are going to win the division. That's why you can't make a quick judgment off one game. But I'll tell you what, the Redskins were really good against the Raiders on Sunday night. No question about that. We want to thank everyone for participating in this week's poll question. Check out Twitter. My handle there is @Dave Cokin to see my daily comments about sports in the Vegas sports wagering scene.
And you can participate every day with me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
When we come back, we will look at a pair of Week 4 NFL showdowns. The huge rivalry battle between the Steelers and Ravens. I think it's the most bitter rivalry in the NFL. And this one's not far behind the Raiders and Broncos. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Proline. Week 4 Sunday finds the Steelers and Ravens in an AFC North showdown. Interesting situational spot for Baltimore because they played in London Sunday morning and they didn't play well. The good news is they didn't have to extend themselves. That game was over at halftime. I mean, they just got killed, much to my delight.
Yeah, me too. The issue there is, Dave, I believe it's the first time a team played in London and didn't get a bye week the following week. And if I'm not mistaken, they actually volunteered to not have a bye week. Now, I think that makes a huge difference in this game. First of all, Baltimore is not that strong on offense anyway. Their strength is defense. Didn't show up last week. Obviously, Jacksonville buried them and scored a lot of points doing it. Everybody bet that game under, by the way, and it flew. Well, it didn't fly over, but it went over. Pittsburgh played ugly. They played down to their opponents all the time. I mean, if they're playing a good team, they play good. If they play in a bad team, they play as bad or worse than the bad team. That's been Tomlin's and the Steelers' character for many years. It's very frustrating for those clubs. The Chicago Bears beat them, ran for over 200 yards against this team. You know, when this game opened up, they made the line 45, the total. I bet it under. And I wanted to give it out. But it immediately moved to 41.5, 42. I'm not chasing that number down. I think it's still an underplay. I'm not laying 3 on the road with Pittsburgh. They're the healthier, more rested team because they played the normal schedule and they didn't have all that travel. However, this is such a rivalry, and these guys play so close all the time. But because of that travel thing that Baltimore had last week and not getting a bye off the London trip, I leaned to Pittsburgh. I leaned to the under, but the only bet I made was under 45, and that number just doesn't exist anymore, and I'm not telling anybody out there to chase it at 41 or 42.
No, you don't play bad numbers. Listen, I went 2-1 last Sunday in the NFL. The 2 winners were Jacksonville and the Bears. And a big part of why I like those squads, I thought Jacksonville had a lot of advantages with their familiarity as far as London goes. But a big part of the factors for both games were the fact that the Ravens and Steelers are playing each other this week, and this is an enormous rivalry. These teams really don't like each other. I mean, that stuff gets blown out of proportion sometimes. It's not here. This is a serious hate match. And I thought both teams might get caught looking ahead, and I very much think they did. I think Pittsburgh was completely flat against the Bears, and Jacksonville the Ravens had no interest in that game from the beginning. This is, in rivalries, I generally look to take the points if I'm going to play the game. I have not made a play on this game yet. Whether I do or not remains to be seen. But the only side I would take is the Ravens at +3 or better. At less than that, I wouldn't consider it. So let's see what happens with the line. If there's some value on Sunday morning, I might jump in and take the dog. Otherwise, I'll probably take the game off. I won't play the total because playing into beat-up numbers is just a good way to lose money. Don't chase steam. It's just not a good idea. Let's get Jeff Saad's take on this game from Las Vegas Sports Services. Take it away, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Baltimore didn't play any defense last week in London, but when these division rivals clash, they almost always seem to play tough physical defense. 3 of the last 4 meetings, the scores have been 23-20, 20-17, and 21-14. The Steelers' defense has improved this season, especially in the secondary, and they're on a 20-8 run under the total on the road. I expect a strong defensive battle between these great rivals. Play Pittsburgh and Baltimore to stay under the total. Back to you guys.
All right, let's move to another AFC showdown, and this is also a real good rivalry. I don't think it's as intense as the Ravens and Steelers, but it's pretty good. And this is the pass-happy Raiders off a wake-up call game. They got their ass kicked at Washington on Sunday night, and they will take on the Denver Broncos, who got out to an early lead and then got outplayed by the Buffalo Bills.
They did. I want to back up 1 minute. I do have a suggestion on that last game, especially if you lean to Baltimore. People don't talk about this too much, but there might actually be a play in this game, and it's going to be a 2-team teaser. You could take, if you like Baltimore, I'm never going to tell you to take the favorite and cross 0 because you lose a point doing it, but you could easily take Baltimore +9, and then you could go under, if you can grab a 42 or 42.5, you could go under 48 or 48.5. You combine those together, I think that's a pretty good bet. And when I leave here, I'm going to go make that bet. The problem is I really don't like Baltimore coming off that, but I think from a value perspective, that might be the right play, especially for guys like what you said, you lean to them anyway.
All right.
As far as this Oakland-Denver game, this is a rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
And this goes back a long way. I personally think Denver's the better team. I think they have a better defense. They're home. It's always been a tough home field anyway. Oakland had a great year last year. Even on their road trips back east, they did very well. This year they've had 2 trips back east in 3 weeks. One of them they won at Tennessee, and last week they got crushed by the Redskins. Yeah, they could be thinking about Denver because this is a division game, big game. But I think Denver's a stronger team. I think they run the ball better, and I think their offensive line is strong. The quarterback definitely is better for Oakland. But when you look at defense and running the ball and home field advantage, I think 2.5 is too cheap. I think the game has to be 3, minimum 3. And it's sitting out there at 2.5 in most places. So at that number, I lean that way.
I think this is a game that's going to be perfect for live betting because I want to see how things are unfolding. If the Denver offensive line is able to give Trevor Siemian more protection than they did last week against Buffalo, they should win the football game. But I'm telling you what, the Bills were in the backfield all day long in the second half of that game, and Siemian made some really bad throws under pressure. And you know the Raiders are going to look at that and try and come up with a defensive scheme to put pressure on Siemian. You let the guy sit in the pocket, he'll pick you apart. He's actually pretty good as far as that goes. But where he makes his mistakes is when he gets the happy feet and starts feeling some heat. So the Raiders have to find a way to design stuff to get into the backfield, and they've got one pretty good player on that defensive line who can do it. He's as good as it comes at sacking people, and I think he's going to be the integral part of this game. He'll be the key guy. If the Broncos don't find a way to block Mack, they'll lose. He'll make turnovers, and that'll be the end of that. The other thing for the Raiders is I think they went into Washington a little bit fat and happy, and that might be a result of playing the New York Jets. What? Well, it was so easy for them against the Jets. I think they lost their edge, and they came off two really good performances against Tennessee, and they did play well against the Jets, and I think they just thought, boy, this is going to be easy. We'll go in there and take care of business. It's not like these road trips have bothered them. And, of course, they got their teeth kicked in by Kirk Cousins and the Redskins. Brilliant performance by Cousins. I think the Raiders can bounce back from that, but I'm not going to play this game. I want to see what the game plan is and how it's being implemented early on. I think this will be a good game to get involved in as it progresses.
I want to inject a little bit. Let's give a little credit to the other sides of these games.
Absolutely.
Denver played at Buffalo. That's a tough spot, traveling back east. Buffalo's not that bad. I know a lot of people put them down, but they are pretty good at certain things, and they found a way to take advantage of Denver in that game. Now, Oakland played Sunday night at Washington. Washington is not that bad. A lot of these teams have been downgraded in the preseason and expected to be not so good this year. Not so much. So watch out for that. Maybe we've done a little bit too much downgrading on Buffalo and the Redskins.
Absolutely. I think Buffalo can finish second in their division, and the Redskins, they're 2-1, and I know a lot of people, including myself, didn't think they'd be very good this season, but at least it's a positive start. Let's see what LVSS, Las Vegas Sports Services, thinks about this game. Jeff Saad.
Both teams are on bounce-back mode. Denver's offense is playing well under new coach Vance Joseph, and behind quarterback Trevor Siemian and wide receivers Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. The Raiders are one of the most talented offenses in the league again, and they're ranked number 9 in scoring. Derek Carr has great weapons to work with, but the young defense is ranked number 23 against the pass. Play the Broncos and the Raiders to go over the total. Las Vegas Sports Services has a special this week, 7 days of service in all sports. That's placed every day for $15. That will include a $500 blockbuster release scoring this weekend on the gridiron. That's guaranteed, or October is free. Just call 866-546-9467. Back to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. When we come back, we'll have some more NFL observations to run through to get you prepared for week number 4. All right, week 3 in the books. And speaking of the books, if you're seeing someone in your neighborhood who's driving around with the top down in the car and just really enjoying life, chances are he's a bookie. Because, boy, I'm telling you, they cleaned up. The players had a very bad weekend. Sharp players did well. But the squares really got their teeth kicked in on Sunday. This was one of the better days in recent memory for the sports books here in Nevada. As far as the NFL is concerned, they basically won everything.
Well, it was an unusual week to begin with because you had 11 home underdogs in the NFL, which is
don't ever recall that before.
I don't remember ever having 11. No. I mean, I had a great week. The underdogs, they were 10-3 against the spread. 6 of them won straight up.
Which crushed the teasers.
Teasers and money line parlays because everybody's betting Pittsburgh, et cetera, et cetera. Denver, Oakland. Oakland had a ton of money Sunday night. Everybody loves Oakland. They were so popular in preseason, it carries over because they won week 1 at Tennessee and then they won against the Jets. And then again, the public gets wrapped up in what the media sells them. And it's not. There was one person. Listen to this. $340,000 money line bet on the Steelers.
That was the MGM Grand.
Yeah.
I know.
$340,000.
Well, that's not anymore.
Oh,
okay.
That guy. He sold his Mercedes. After that,
no,
that's
there's a lot of bridge jumpers out there as far as laying. This has become kind of popular in the last few years. People laying a big amount of money to win a small amount of money with a favorite they think can't go down. All I can tell you is that was just not a smart bet. And look, I'm not second guessing the guy because I had the Bears.
It wasn't a smart bet.
I had the Bears. Steelers money line was a bad bet last. It was a dumb bet. Okay, they don't do well on the road against losing teams. You can look it up. No. And so sometimes you have to.
That's kind of a Tomlin personality
theory.
Or something.
And they've got this game coming up with Baltimore. This was not a good spot for Pittsburgh, and they played like it. So, sorry, buddy, whoever that was, but that wasn't. You kind of deserve to lose that one. There's other ones where, if it didn't go your way, it might have been bad luck or something along those lines. But anyway. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens this weekend. Maybe the public will recover, or maybe not. Last year, we saw one of the longest stretches, and I've been doing this for a long time, on both sides of the window. It was one of the lengthiest stretches I've ever seen last year where the public kept on getting the best of the sharps on a regular basis in the NFL.
Yeah,
Second half of the season, it was all squares. I think it's going to be a turnaround this year, and we saw a bit of that last week.
Last week, for sure. Our poll question talked about the NFC East. I'd like to ask you a question about the AFC West,
All
which
right.
includes Kansas City, Denver, L.A., I almost said San Diego.
The Chargers actually count.
Chargers, and one other. Oakland.
The Oakland Las Vegas Raiders.
That's a hell of a.
It is, but
That's a hell of a division.
I'll tell you what, Kareem Hunt is the difference maker right now. Kansas City's the best team in that division right now. Now, I don't want to jinx the guy, okay, but we know what happens to running backs as the season goes along. They take more punishment than anybody in the football field. They're the most next time you hear somebody say these overpaid athletes, they're not talking about running backs because they're not paid enough. They have the shortest shelf life in the NFL.
Yep.
Their injury rate is higher than any other position in the NFL. They get the living snot knocked out of them on an every game basis. Those guys aren't paid enough. And the thing is, Kareem Hunt, he is a rookie, and you wonder if he'll wear down as the season goes along. But right now,
Sure.
wow, he looks absolutely fantastic.
One thing I predict about the running backs in the NFL is they're going to come back, and they're going to become more important. The reason is, and I think I mentioned it last week, they're paying a lot of money to quarterbacks, and they can't protect them. And so these quarterbacks go down, what are you going to do? You're going to bring in a second-line quarterback that isn't as good as the first guy, and you're going to have to run the ball in order to stay in the game. So the running game will come back. It's a pendulum. It happens in everything. So they're gonna make a comeback, and they already are. I saw Belichick pull some fullback stuff last. Yep. I mean, it was like a throwback to 20 years ago. That's how smart a guy he is. But that's why he is who he is.
My feelings on the running game, mine have never changed. Okay, I'm not into flash, glitter. I think that gimmick offenses are fine for a little while, but football has always been won and lost in the trenches. And if you can beat the other team at the point of attack and run the football and control the clock and keep it away from the other team, you're going to win way more games than you lose.
And if you can
That
keep
philosophy still works.
keep your quarterback standing up and healthy, so he can do something with the ball instead of running for your life like Russell Wilson is doing right now. How long does he last?
Oh, he's amazing, but I'm telling you,
He can't make it through a whole season like this.
would seem unlikely. All right, that's it. If you want to get free plays every day from our team of Vegas experts, they're on a recorded message. Just call toll-free to 888-294-1970.
And if you want free plays sent right to your cell phone, just text GAME, G-A-M-E, to 64600. And if you want a free $50 Inner Circle football release going Saturday, just text Proline, 64600.
And you can also get a free daily text from me by texting Cokin 64600. That's it. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week with another edition of Proline.